And we're back, everybody. Welcome back to Words with Wayman. I am your host, as always, Matt Wayman. Thank you so much for supporting us online, people. We really appreciate it. We're going to jump right in. Very special guest, ex-coworker of mine, sweet baby Denver boy, research analyst, Todd Faulkenberry.
How's it going, Matt? Thanks for having me on.
That's a great last name. It's a good one.
German. Comes from a hill of falcons in rural Germany.
You put off a falcon vibe. It's probably because the last name has the word falcon in it.
How's it going?
It's going fantastic. Thank you so much for coming out. As you know, this is a creative-driven podcast. We were talking because you're getting in the podcast game eventually.
That is the goal. I'm trying to, just like you, make money actually doing things I like instead of things I tolerate.
That is the goal. That is the end-all, be-all hope, and that is why we do the struggle all the time. But yeah, so I said, you know what, come on this podcast and I'll show you how I do this so you can start your own and be a halfway successful person in your own brain. But yeah, thank you for coming out. You are a research analyst involved in the political field.
Yeah, so I work for a political polling firm full-time.
From home?
From home. I sit on my couch, plug in numbers.
Which I think is cool, which is another reason I thought you'd be really
cool. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but I think that working from home is really great. There's some bad things about it that people don't think about.
Yeah.
I guess it depends on the organization you work for. The organization I work for is great, but it's a small boutique political polling firm, and I'm the youngest person there by probably 20 years.
Oh, boy.
So I don't, a lot of people make their friends from work, and I don't have that option. And a lot of days I go through and I don't really interact with anyone except for my girlfri's dogs and then my girlfriend. When
just
she gets
talking
home,
to animals.
Yeah, just talking to animals like Dr. Dolittle or something. So.
They finally understand you by now. Yeah, I guess that is the thing, because, whenever I know a significant portion of my friends from work or just comedy, and if it wasn't for that, I don't even know who I'd know.
Exactly. So, and especially if you're in a relationship, it becomes very easy to be isolating. So I really have to out there, and it's almost like a job in and of itself, making sure that I have to take showers daily.
Definitely, yeah. Not just live that college. You've grown your hair out quite a bit.
I have grown my hair out quite a bit. I feel like that's just following the man bun trend.
Right? It's hot right now. Get on that train while it's still chugging along down the tracks.
But see, you start 6 months ago, and now it's here.
Yeah.
And people are moving on from the man bun, dude. You can't. How could I predict it?
You can't predict it, but you're going to do what you can.
I'm going to do what I can.
Rock that man bun. Bun it up. So break down, what does a typical day then look like for you?
So on good days, I wake up around 7:30 and get a shower, get some food in me, ready to work at 9. And then I'm literally just sitting on my computer plugging numbers into a couple different programs. I work for, we do surveys, but I don't do any of the phone calls or anything like that. So I don't really interact with anyone.
That's kind of cool, though. You don't want to do that.
That's the worst part. I'm really glad I do that. Yeah, I have a long history of doing things like canvassing.
Oh, boy.
And registering people to vote.
People are the worst.
Yeah,
people just blowing you off.
Yeah, people, that is, what's that? That Winston Churchill quote, he says, the biggest determinant against democracy is spending a 5-minute conversation with the average voter.
Yeah.
And you just interact with people and you're like, man, people are kind of stupid. But,
dummies. Big dummy dum-dums.
Kind of dummies. But that's the cool thing about this work is I constantly see these numbers and they reflect the actual society. So it keeps a good perspective on me. I'm constantly, the vast majority of people I hang out with are white, college educated.
Liberal, yeah.
But only, 25% of America has a college degree. And I'm like... And I'm constantly reminded of that because I don't interact with that many non-college educated people.
I have not even thought of that much until that came out of your mouth. Because I guess you just, the group of friends that you said or just have hung out with for such a long time are just determinative of what you've done, which is good.
Yeah, exactly. People talk to, Donald Trump gets brought up in every single conversation around the world now.
But
to bring up him very briefly, and then we can move on. People will say, I don't understand. Someone will say, I don't understand the rise of Trump. And I'll say, well, then you just aren't very connected with America.
It's so American.
He's a much more a reflection of American values than
he is
I
America.
am, to be completely honest. I'm a very small slice of the American population.
Pretty much just a vision of the American dream in some senses of just being like this rich dude that can do whatever he wants and say whatever he wants.
Just winning. It's huge. It's huge.
But that is if you say it's not American, then you're absolutely right. You don't this country's about.
Faking it till you make it.
There's a bunch of movies that have been about it too, just either a comedian rising to the top just based off things being a real person, but he's a real person.
Yeah. So it's really crazy.
Though he seems fake.
Yeah.
So you basically just sit at home and just like answer and just send some emails and answer some emails.
Yeah, and on a good day, on bad days, I don't get out of bed till 8:55, and I have to be on my computer logged in at 9 doing stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't take a shower, and it just like kind of like starts off bad, gets worse, just sitting on my couch, and I'm just like, man, this is what I do every day. I just never leave the house.
Yeah.
So that can be a little stressful, but that's also my fault.
Yeah, I mean, you could go to a nice Starbucks.
Go to a nice
Starbucks over by your house.
Coffee shops.
I think Bardo is over by your house. Yeah,
Bardo. I've been going to Bardo's recently.
Yeah, that seems kind of like a hip one.
Maybe even the Blue Bonnet, dude.
Yeah, right. My old former place of employment. Everybody stop in there for a chimichurri that's not deep fried, but it is just a bag of mystery. Yeah, so you have to get out and force yourself to see people.
Yes, but the good thing about this work is I do have time to work creatively if I so choose, which is kind of why I'm looking into getting a podcast or writing more or something like that, because I get to sit at home and I get to sit in front of a computer and I don't have people around me. So I have a lot of freedom, and if I can channel that freedom into creative output, I think it could go very well, but easier said than done.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that either, you make a specific change where you're like, I will crank out this thing a day. I think podcasts are definitely easy for that. You're like, I just have to get a guest and we record it.
Yeah, so let me ask you, how do you motivate yourself? Because there's no reason that you have to release this.
I just do it because I really like to do it.
Just fall in love with the work.
Yeah, I mean, after a while when you're like, all these people listening to it and they're into it and you just get to chat with people, and I think podcasts are different conversations. Like, we wouldn't be having the same conversation if we were just talking. This is more of like a forced conversation, but I also feel like you get a lot more out of it than just hanging out and chatting.
Definitely. So you think like adding structure leads to things that you just wouldn't talk about.
Well, you're like, there's people out there and they want to be entertained at some point, so I at least might as well try to sound interesting. Or like, I feel like you just definitely get a lot of different stuff that you wouldn't normally get out of a regular conversation.
Definitely, yeah. That's kind of how I feel. And that's why I want to... My podcast that I will hopefully release soon is going to be a political focused podcast.
Nice. Okay. So what do you want to focus on?
I'm trying to focus on... I think that politics can be entertainment, and not like Trump entertainment that's really like cheap and dirty and making fun of people and just something you can see on Twitter. I think the people that become politicians are really interesting people, really driven people, and I think they have a lot of knowledge and a lot of intrigue that can be parsed through on a podcast that you can't really get on, if you just hear in press releases or if you just hear them talking to people en masse. So I'm hoping to bring people up and get past that gloss and like get a peek into their real personalities.
Nice. And I mean, you're involved with that on the daily too, so I feel like any podcast is good if there's somebody that actually is like super involved with what they're talking about.
Yeah, very involved. Have been working in Colorado politics for the past 2 years since I moved here. Basically,
you got the face of a politician.
Not the hair anymore though. I gotta cut it short if I gotta.
That's the Colorado thing, that like long Colorado haircut.
Though maybe that's a good Coloradan politician. Long hair, man bun, and
I'm one of you guys. I've been snowboarding. Like, did I say snowboarding right? What's that? So what do you guys got? So you want to bring politicians onto your podcast and then just kind of not grill them, not put them in the hot seat.
No, see, I'm not interested. See, that's the problem. Is a lot of media, a lot of times it's gotcha moments or things that can get clicks. And the great thing about my position, starting out with nothing, with no like concrete need to hit clicks or likes, is I think that I'll be able to have genuine conversation with these people, and I hope that genuine conversation will lead to something that people want to listen to.
Nice.
If it feels like in media, politics, everything generally, people just don't think that people are genuine anymore, and hopefully to bring a type of genuity to this podcast will lead to something that people want to listen to.
Wow, that's awesome. I think that's super cool. And I mean, that's a perfect reason to get into the podcast game.
Yeah, I also everything doesn't need like a huge philosophical underpinning. I also just kind of like podcasts.
Yeah.
And just like talking. So
talking to people is fantastic.
You can like have a beer while you do it and chill. And after you get used to it, it's just, people come relax and would say things that it's nice to have.
I'm sure. Yeah. Or see it just like when you stay inside a bunch, like talking to people is a skill too.
Yeah, I used to be really good at it because I used to go out and register voters, and now I just, talk to the dogs on the daily basis. So I've lost. So that's another skill that I need to like brush the dust off
Yeah.
some and bring it back.
But you remember when you were waiting tables? I mean, like sometimes when you have like a really good day, you're like, okay, I'm just kind of nailing it today, or it's like it's just going good, making jokes with people and it's fine. And then some other days it's like,
yeah,
no.
and I don't know. That is so true and so interesting, and I don't know how to channel that on a daily basis. There would be tables that I would just robotically go through, and this even goes back to when I would canvas. Is sometimes some days you would just feel so loose and great, and you would just be signing up people. People would want to talk to you.
Yeah.
Even if someone said something bad to you, you would just brush it off. And then there's those other days where you're just robotic. People aren't that interested in you, or you don't feel that they're interested, and it's kind of like a vicious cycle where you're robotic, which leads to bad conversation, which leads you being more robotic, and just like over and over.
Do I sound like a human person?
Yeah. Welcome to Vine Street.
Would you like a table for 1 or 2? It's crazy. I think it's just definitely mood that day and ups and downs, but it definitely when it's good, it's good, and when it's bad, sometimes it is the absolute worst.
I mean, you've been waiting tables for a bit now.
Way too long. People always ask me, they go, how long have you been doing this? I go, too long, is the answer.
But you have to like something. Is it just, do you do it just out of ease, or
No, I think the money's great, and I really like I like making people laugh, and I think it's the easiest job because all we are is people that communicate with other people. So I can just mess with a bunch of people.
And that kind of feeds into your other work with stand-up and line you. If you're just talking all the time, it's going to make you mad.
Man, sometimes if I get off a shift and go straight to a mic, it's game over. It's great. I feel so much better, yeah. It's a lot more loose, and then but then if you take a couple days off stand-up too, it's like, man, it's not as smooth either, so it's like this whole cycle. Like, waiting tables is fun because you can kind of just do anything. Like people, especially Vine Street. That's what I really love about working at that Vine Street pub. It's on 17th Vine, Denver, Colorado. For those listeners that are out of state, kind of just like this little hippy dippy brewery, but it's like
great beer though.
People know you're messing with them, so they're cool with it. And like some other fine dining restaurants, you can't really mess with people because they're spending so much money.
Yeah, the clientele is much different than, say, my girlfriend used to work at Earl's downtown.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a lot of tourists and a lot of oil and gas executives, and the vibe is definitely less, for lack of a better word, chill than Vine Street is. And that's one of the reasons I liked working at Vine, is just the average person wasn't a douchebag. Mm-hmm. And you can't necessarily say that about every place.
We definitely had a bunch of douchers, but yeah, for the most part, it was definitely people that, like, when they get into a restaurant, they accepted the fact that it was kind of this cool spot, which hasn't happened for, I think, 90% of the restaurants that I've ever worked at my entire life. And I've been doing this since I was 18.
So this is your favorite restaurant you've ever worked at?
Yeah, I think so. Super cool.
Good job, Vine Street.
Right?
Thanks, Caroline, killing it.
Caroline Duffy. But it's fun to have fun at work, which is the hardest part. A lot of times.
I agree. I sometimes, with my job especially, it can be very meticulous sometimes, and it's easy to lose sight of the enjoyment of it. And that's a problem. If you're not enjoying what you're doing, you're just going to be worse at it.
Yeah.
So you've got to, regardless of what you're doing, you have to have the right mindset and perspective to enjoy some part of it.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you just go and hate it every day, you're just, not only are you going to hate your life, but you're also just going to be not very good at whatever you're doing.
I feel bad for people that do that, and I know a significant amount of people that do that, I know a lot of friends that I have back home, it's like they're doing fantastic financially, and it's like, how are you enjoying it? And they're like, every day is the day I don't pull the trigger. It's like, they're making great money, but it's like they're not having fun at all.
Yeah, but then what's the point? I mean, money's great, but if you hate your life, there's other forms of payment outside of financial payment, and you got to keep that in mind.
The payment of waking up and just sitting on the couch and clicking away at that keyboard. Cool. Well, that is how quickly these things go. Mr. Todd, man, support us online, everybody at Words with Wayman on Twitter. Do you have anything you want to plug? Do you have a name for the new podcast yet?
I don't want to commit to anything. I don't want to go on the record quite yet with it. But hopefully I will come back once my podcast is set up and can tell people a little more about it and can point to some things, and then I'll plug then. But for now, Words with Wayman.
That was the most political I think we've got this whole episode. I'm not going to commit to anything. Everybody out there, guys, commit to us online. Thank you so much for listening. Right? Thank you so much for being here, everybody.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
We'll see you all soon.